Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending today's program with Mount Wilson versus the Bobcat Fire. I'm Christine Reeder, Adult Services Librarian for the Pasadena Public Library, and we are thrilled to be able to present this program. We have permission from Mount Wilson to record the program. The program will be in the Pasadena Public Library's YouTube. None of your photos or names will be shown. When we're doing chat private with me, if you'll put your chat questions into chat and I will ask them, your name and photo will be not shown with that. Please continue to mute yourself throughout the program, and that way your voice will not be placed in the program as well. So I want to tell you a little bit about the library as we are closed. We are offering curbside service for all of our community. You just need to go to our catalog and place your reservation for the books that you want and select the library that you would like to pick them up from. Please remember that we're open 24/7 on our website. We have, as you know, because you're all in, wonderful, wonderful programs. We have several programs that are coming up that might be of interest to you in February. February the 18th will be the watch event for the NASA Mars Perseverance landing. We had a wonderful program last week presented by JPL NASA staff member Ken Williford. We're coming up to partner with in February, the Caltech Science Exchange, and we have a wonderful selection of Black History Month events. So please go to our website and sign up for those as well. We have chat available to the community. Our librarians are there to help you if you have any questions. So at this time, I'm sure everybody is just thrilled to learn more about the Mount Wilson and the Bobcat Fire. We watched in horror as it raged over the San Gabriel Mountains, starting in early September. The Bobcat Fire came within just a few feet of the Mount Wilson Observatory, thanks to outstanding fire prevention and preparations by the observatory and the heroic effort of several hundred firefighters. A tragedy was averted. Today we have David Cendejas, the Mount Wilson Superintendent, presenting the program. David was born and raised in Pasadena. He attended Field Elementary School and used to look up at Mount Wilson and say, I'm going to be there one day, and here he is. He lives up there with his wife. He began working on the mountain in 2016, and he has been the superintendent since May of 2019. While we were waiting to start to come in, it's cold here in Pasadena, or someone's here from Washington, D.C. today, and it's cold there, but I believe it's probably even colder up on Mount Wilson, and there is snow up there today. We also have Tom Manahini presenting today. He's an amateur astronomer for all of his life. He's volunteered at Mount Wilson for decades, until he became the executive director 6 years ago. He still volunteers. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to David and Tom. Thank you so much for presenting for us today, and welcome.
Hi, Christine. Thank you for having us. Well, how do we get started? Tom, thank you for joining us today, and thank you all for being here with us. This has been a crazy year, and I'm glad we're able to present you with this program. So we can get started whenever you like, Christine.
Go ahead and start, please.
Okay. So let me share the screen. Here we go. Okay, can you all see that?
Yes, we certainly can. It's
Perfect.
Very nice.
All right. So here is the Bridge to the Stars with fire personnel on September 10th. I was able to take a great photo of them while we were showing them our fire suppression system. We have our 500,000 gallon water tank to the right of them, or to the left because they're coming southwise. And yeah, this kind of shows you the kind of support we had when things were getting scary once we knew that the fire was making its way over to the observatory. So just kind of shows you what we had going on, and quite the iconic photo. Let's go. Well, this is the Mount Wilson Observatory, our historical observatory here. Tom, would you like to elaborate a bit more on some of the historical presence and discoveries that we've had here, and just how important Mount Wilson is to LA County and all of us?
Sure thing. I just had to go over a brief list of discoveries and and work done up there. And it's started in 1904 with the Snow Solar Telescope, and progressed there, for the next half century of additions. You're seeing the from the left, the 100-inch telescope dome. The center tower is the 150-foot solar tower. The smaller dome is the 60-inch telescope, and then we have the 60-foot solar telescope as well. And down below it, we have the humble but venerable Snow Solar Telescope, which was the first instrument put on the mountain in 1904. George Ellery Hale was a solar astronomer, and he that was his forte, and he wanted to prove one thing, and that there was magnetism on the sun. And he built successive instruments. The Snow Solar Telescope couldn't quite do it, and he built the 60-foot solar telescope, and that proved that there was a solar magnetic field. And that was quite a discovery at the time, because there was no instrument on Earth that could do that otherwise. In 1918, Harlow Shapley used the 60-inch to discover our location in the Milky Way, and the dimensions of the Milky Way. That was quite a discovery too. Others, not astronomical, but at least astrophysics. Well, we'll call it physics. Michelson and Pease in 1920 measured the speed of light by reflecting a mirror on one of those far mountains over there, Mount San Antonio, back to the observatory, and measured the speed of light. And Humason and, Hubble and Humason used the 100-inch telescope to the scale of the universe. Actually, he found that there were galaxies outside of the Milky Way, that the Milky Way was not the extent of the universe. Later then, he used the spectroscope on that instrument to determine that the universe was really expanding. There were galaxies that were moving away from us. And Bada in the 80s did some work with stellar populations. There were 5-minute solar oscillations done by Leighton, Howard, and Rhodes, Ulrich. And we have recently, in this past 2 decades, we have the Chara interferometer array up there, which is the largest optical interferometer in the world. But that's just a synopsis. There were a lot more things to be done, but that's just the summary. So does that work?
That's beautiful, Tom. Well, that is, here we go. Let me go to the next slide. This is a real-time photo of what we're experiencing today. Unfortunately, we can't have people up here for our events and our lectures and for the cafe food because of COVID. And once we were kind of settling down from all the pandemic, we were hoping to open up to the public, and then the Bobcat Fire came. And now that the Bobcat Fire has gone away, this is what we're dealing with. So unfortunately, we still can't have everyone up here. But check out what rewards we're reaping from the fire. I believe due to all the ash going into our atmosphere, it helps create a heavier water molecule and create more precipitation. And I believe this is why we're getting so much snow early on this season. Really helps our environment, the water table, and it's beautiful just to be up here and live in. So that's what we're looking at today. This was taken on the 25th, and we were expecting a bigger storm today, but fortunately it kind of dissipated, and we were enjoying our sunny skies. It's about 20 degrees up here. So as you all know, 20 degrees for a Californian is sub-zero temperatures. So September 6th is when I got the report from my staff member, John Stone, that there was a fire starting by Cogswell Dam. At the time, I was off the mountain, and for a moment, we had been dealing with flare-ups previously that month, and we didn't really expect it to make its way over. But as you can see, that's a scary sight to see, coming back from a weekend of relaxing. So here is what I call our hero photo. These are the Sequoia National Forest cobras, I believe. They were responsible for doing work throughout the observatory in terms of clearing out brush, creating a defensible perimeter around our historical structures. And this kind of really captures the moment of what we were going through and how ominous and how scary the fire really was. And when I took this photo, it was quite interesting because we had heavy smoke, cloud coverage all over the observatory. And then out of nowhere, there was this beautiful window that opened up from the city. And this is why you see the 100-inch lit up and, you know, the way it is. We got lighting from the city, and it was kind of like a sign of some sort that we're gonna be okay. This place is so important to all of us, and there's a lot of history here, and there's a lot to protect. It was quite great, just, you know, getting to meet all these gentlemen, and a lot of these people I would say are underappreciated just because they do a lot of the grunt hard work. They go in there and they cut trees and clear out brush and start backfires, and they're working relentlessly just to protect, you know, our forest and the observatory. Anything you'd like to say, Tom?
Oh, I'm good. Keep on rolling.
Keep on rolling. So this is our 500,000-gallon water tank that about a couple years ago, we received a grant from LA County to refurbish. And this is the reason why we believe the observatory was saved ultimately. To have all this water at our hands to be able to suppress what was coming. Even fire personnel were quite shocked at how advanced, and not advanced, but just how well put our fire suppression system is. So just a special thanks to the LA County supervisors. If it weren't for you granting us that money to refurbish this, we would have been in a lot of trouble. And this is the work of taxpayers and a lot of people. So thank you all.
I will chime in here and say that this was a sizable investment. I didn't think it would cost this much. That I believe was put in the ground in the 30s, probably 32, 35. I don't know that it had received any upgrades or improvements since that time, but when we got the grant, the roof was collapsing. It was no longer, it wasn't going to hold, it would hold water, but it would hold a lot of wood too. The county gave us a grant for $500,000, and we spent almost all of it getting this up to grade. And it was 2 years before the fire, so it was a very, very timely investment. And we thank it was Mike Antonovich who provided us that money.
There was something else. So here is a photo of the north side of the observatory when backfire operations were happening. For many of you who were watching from the HP Ren cameras, I'm sure you all were just freaking out. Just to let you know, those cameras were really light sensitive, so it really intensified what was going on. I mean, when they started the backfire operations, me and the emergency response team, we had moved up to the front just to get out of the way, not to be any liability to fire personnel. And we were watching it from our phones, wondering, how bad is this getting? How bad is this getting? It wasn't until later that evening we were able to walk back to the observatory and see the operations. And this kind of shows you what was going on and the intensity. I mean, from real time to having the cameras really intensified what was going on. So these were ground shots right here. And as you can see, you could see the city up top. So it was going, but these were backfire operations, and it was in order to create another defensible perimeter just in case the real fire decided to come up and burn through all the underbrush. And fortunately, it did not hit the crown of the forest, which would have been bad news. This is another great photo of firemen working together. Long nights, long nights. We had people up here for weeks doing 48-hour shifts. And this kind of just shows you how still everything is. And it's a really great photo. So before I start this video here, this is our HP Ren camera facing southward. And this was just after I evacuated on the 17th. We were 3 people up here, 2 CHAR associates and myself, and we deemed ourselves a liability at that point to where we don't want the firefighters to have to focus on us. We did our job. They understand our fire suppression system. We prepared as best as we could, and we got out of there. And the following night, this is what happened. So this is the video. And here you could kind of see the fire coming in from the south end. And let me stop it just right here. Just to clarify to a lot of people, I got many calls this evening wondering if we lost the library, the monastery, the entire observatory. And, you know, not being present on campus, I was freaking out like no other. Being on campus, I had all the data I needed, all the information I needed. I knew what they were doing then and there. But being stuck down in the city at home, I was just scared for my life, for the observatory. And just to let you know, these were backfire operations that were happening by our library and the Snow Telescope. And
It's
as
pretty
you,
terrifying.
it was, it was, it was beyond terrifying. And as you can see now that things are dying down, none of the trees were damaged. You can kind of see the snow telescope down by the 60-foot tower. And to the left of the 60-foot tower, kind of by the city, you can see where the actual fire is coming up from Santa Anita Canyon. So what's coming up next is live footage of the fire coming up from the monastery. You guys be ready. This is some intense stuff. It's about a minute long. I won't interrupt, so just hold on tight. And that shows you what they were dealing with. I just like to give a special thanks to 801 Alpha, the strike team that was there. I believe it was 1501 as well. And Captain Anthony Hildebrand, who was working with his team of the city of Downey. Their crew did great work. They helped protect the JPL site that was below the monastery. So just a big thank you to them and their hard work for really saving those two precious facilities. What I have coming up next is another video of the fire from the face of the monastery, just to show you how close it really got to the monastery. We didn't receive any damage to the structure, but we believe that some of the fire kissed our monastery. And here we go. You can't really see it as much as I'll play it again, but at the beginning of the video, you can see that fire. It's quite scary. Right there. I mean, if that isn't close, I don't know what close is. But I'm glad the monastery is okay. We did receive a little smoke damage, but we're already working on painting and redoing the windows, windowsills, you name it. We're working our butts to get that place back in working order. So when we open up, we can have our undergraduates stay and be comfortable and warm again. Okay. Anything to say, Tom? Are you?
No, I'm enthralled by the whole. I wasn't there, but I'm reliving this whole thing. Shout out to my city folks. I'm from Downey, so that's my city. So I'm glad they were up there. I gave them my personal thanks, and I do it every time I see them.
Yeah, those guys were great, and I want to thank them once again because they did share this footage with us. So without them sharing the footage, we would just be looking at photos and not get a real-time view of what was happening. Yeah, and let's move forward. All right. Well, here's our world famous 100-inch Hooker telescope, and the fire was reaching Newcomb's Pass, I believe, at that time. The fire was no longer a threat to the observatory, um, although we were still taking precautions and we were still holding our horses just because we knew things could change. The weather could have shifted, winds could have shifted, and redirected the fire back to the observatory. Once the fire stopped at the monastery, we were quite pleased to know that we were no longer in imminent threat of the fire burning us down and losing the whole observatory. So this kind of just shows you where the fire went after it had reached the monastery, and they suppressed it there. So here is a photo of all the fire personnel and trucks and rigs and all the people that were up here. We had about 300 ground personnel doing brush clearance, setting backfires, fire suppression, mopping up, dropping off resources, feeding everyone, just making sure these guys were well taken care of and ready to go. A special thanks to the Forest Service men and women and the LA County firefighters, men and women that came from all over the LA County region. We had people from Pasadena, Arcadia, Monrovia, Downey, Monterey Park. If I missed you, I'm sorry, but it was just quite beautiful to see how these entities came together to save the observatory. And you can kind of see to the left, sorry, but they were also protecting too. You see the antenna farm and the broadcast towers, and we believe there is an estimate of over $1 billion worth of equipment. Although they're worth a lot of money, we're irreplaceable. So we believe they were there for us. Here's another photo, and this is, I believe, the same crew from the Sequoia National Forest. They were going to the north side of the mountain to start backfires and to suppress certain backfires that they had already started earlier that week. Once again, a special thanks to them, because they work hard. They work hard and nonstop. So here's a shot once I was able to return. This is all the Phos-Check. We had a pink forest. We want to know how the observatory survived and what they were doing. They were laying down Phos-Check, and they set a perimeter around the observatory to make sure that the fire did not sneak up from a different way from the south, the east, or the north. And this is what I came home to, a pink forest. This is a shot of our main road. This is an OES fire truck that was, I believe, lent to LA County. I'm not too sure how it works, but the governor understood what we were dealing with, the situation, and because of all the fires that were happening throughout California, I believe he enacted a state of emergency for all the fires in California and specifically at Mount Wilson. So he sent a big crew from Northern California down to Mount Wilson, and just a special thanks to them for supporting us and taking care of us as well. This kind of just gives you a view of the aftermath, and they were probably filling up their fire truck and going to a different site. These guys were great to work with, quite competent, and really helped us understand our fire suppression system much better. So there we go. Thank you. Thank you to them. This was the only loss we had. This was the last remaining cabin from the casino days. Unfortunately, it was forgotten when they were dealing with the monastery, and when they went back to check it, it was set to ablaze, and there was nothing they can do to save it. And at that point, they just let it burn. The really sad part about this is that one of our docent workers, friends up here, Mr. Rob Anderson, was working to restore this. And just as he was getting a roof put on, the Bobcat came and destroyed it. So all you can see is the stacks of bricks, and it was quite sad. It was quite sad because he put a lot of work into it, and unfortunately that was the only structure that was lost, and it was an abandoned structure, so it wasn't something personal to us really. This photo here kind of shows where our well road is, and that structure behind all the trees here is the Forest Service pump house. During the backfire operations, I believe the fire decided to go its own way and started going down the hillside and did threaten the Forest Service pump house. You can't see in detail the damages that were done, but throughout the area, there are a couple black spots, and fortunately, they didn't lose it because it's a vital resource for the mountain to have water, to keep pumping up water, and that was a relief, finally being able to go down there to make sure that our water system was okay. Here is the aftermath of the monastery canyon from the footage we just saw. As you can see how it just climbed up that canyon and made its way up. I was told by the fire personnel that it happened in a matter of moments, and once the heat starts to build, you better watch out and start attacking the fire with as much water as they can. And their main goal was to make sure the fire did not reach the crown of the tree line or the canopy, because if we had a crown fire, that could have been devastating to our structures, and sometimes those are really hard to control. Although they're much easier to extinguish with aerial support, really hard to deal with. And we were already dealing with the limitations of aerial support. So ground crews just did a great job at making sure the fire did not reach the crown. Here we have one of our resident cabins, which is out of order at this time because of the ongoing situation. You can kind of see here, there used to be a lot of oak brush here, a lot of underbrush, and now you can actually see through the oaks to the cabin from the monastery. And it just shows you how the fire was relentless. It didn't care or doesn't judge. It goes where it wants, the path of least resistance. Fortunately, this structure was saved and it survived. So happy that that's still there. Well, this is we're coming to the end of my slideshow. I didn't realize I was going so quickly. Here is the sunset. I would say this was about September 27th, finally when things started to calm down and we were no longer anxious and in fear of losing the observatory. We had I believe it was 801 Alpha who was up here for 2 weeks, and they were kicking butt. So their shift was finally done. And for those strike teams that I don't remember, forgive me. You guys were great too. All of you were great to work with. And this kind of just shows you the tranquil moment of a long month of us expecting more and, you know, hoping that we can reopen. And, you know, there was a lot of questions up in the air at this time, but we saw the light and we saw the growth. And yeah, this is, you know, I remember taking this photo at the cafe after that long month, and I was like, it's done. Not done, but done threatening the observatory. And that was just a great relief for myself, for all of you who are watching down in the city. And just thank you all for the constant support and text messages and reaching out. It's really appreciated to know that we have this strong network and community and, you know, amazing group of volunteers, docents, just staff members, and as well as our site holders. You know, it's a big, good, cohesive unit, and we're making it happen up here when we can. So this is, we are reaching the end of our slideshow. Tom, would you like to say a couple words of what's to come of 2021 and what we're gonna do?
What I hope will happen, and I sent out, you may have seen the email I sent you, a tentative schedule of events for the year, for this season, which is starting in April. But it's touch and go. We don't know where the pandemic is going to take our operations. Things like telescope viewing, which require, you know, close proximity of people in a dome. Tours that also you have to gather people together, as well as concerts or lectures. So it's really, really difficult to do what we do the best. We can only hope that by the end of summer, and this is my wish, is by like August, we can have some salvaging of our program. I don't know what it's going to take, what course it will take, but I think that's the practical limit of what we can do. Currently, the Forest Service has our road closed to the public. They were talking about leaving it closed until April of 2022, which is in another year from now. We're hoping to meet with them and discuss how we could open on a limited basis before then. Now, their objective is to keep people off the trails because they're going to need repairs, especially if there's heavy rains. There's going to be tree falls, there's going to be landslides, and they don't want to endanger people. And I can certainly appreciate their position. And I'd like to work with them because we may be the one safe place in the forest that people can come to once this thing is the major part of its past. So we'll keep everybody informed how we're doing, and we remain hopeful and thankful for all your support, by the way.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
So we have lots of questions in the chat. So can you talk a little bit about the library? I didn't realize there was a library there, and about the monastery, and were they formed back in 1904? Did George Ellery Hale start them, or when?
Well,
Tom, you want to take it? I believe
I'll take it approximately. Now, yeah. These structures were built over time. Actually, the first monastery burnt down.
The first year. Yeah.
It was made out of wood, and the second one they did it a little more substantially. They did it out of gunite and rebar, but the original one was burnt down. So that was a sign of things to come, that they had to prepare for fire. The monastery was a residence for astronomers to come up and overnight, not even overnight, maybe over a week or over a month, but it was just male astronomers, and they would take up residence in the monastery, have their meals cooked and served in a dining room adjacent to the monastery. But it's got a lot of history. We've done I think a pretty good refurbishment. Dave is responsible for a lot of this. So we've tried to bring it back into its former glory. Did some modernization, upgraded the kitchen so we can entertain guests and maybe bring it back to that function again soon. I don't know if I answered that whole question or not.
This was just such a fabulous program with so much detail. But tell us a little bit more about the casino. You used to have casino days up there. Must have been very festive. What years would that have been?
I believe in the 1920s, right? Was it, Tom, that they built a casino at the lower parking lot?
You know, it's part of the history I haven't really followed closely. I know there was a petting zoo, there were casino and other things up there, but I don't know the respective dates, but those were certainly before Disneyland and certainly before we had any kind of entertainment. The mountain was quite a place, was a destination to go. If you were going to go somewhere for entertainment, you went out of the city up into the mountains. There was nothing really in town. This was a focal point. Maybe more so than it is now. They have the Mount Lowell Railroad, a lot of ways to convey up there. 1930s, they built the Angeles Crest Highway. That made it more accessible. So I haven't really put a timeline for all the developments up there, but this was part of the history of the whole mountain, which we're part of.
I believe the casino was built sometime in the 20s because it was an extension from the Mount Lowell Railway kind of entertainment thing. Like you take the train all the way up to Alpine Tavern, and then if you wanted to go to the casino, I think you get a mule ride, or you walk up to the casino and then you could stay. It was quite beautiful. I actually was looking at some photos recently at how lively the mountain used to be. I mean, a casino, you have rooming, drinking, gambling, that gets people in trouble. So
hotel.
You can see why it no longer exists.
Oh, so do you think they'll bring that back?
No.
Unfortunately, no.
No.
We could use the money.
Savvy. Can I just cut in here for a moment?
Sure. Hi, Nick.
Hi. The word casino actually means gathering place. There was no gambling going on up there. And the casino way predates the observatory. When George Ellery Hale came up in 1903 and was surveying the place to build an observatory, he and the rest of that group, that party, stayed at the casino. And there was like a hole in the ceiling and in the roof. It was just basically a large cabin. It wasn't really a casino. It definitely predates 1903 because that's when George Ellery Hale, it was already in disrepair. Don't forget that the Mount Wilson Observatory is the second observatory up there. Harvard put up a small observatory that's where the transmitter towers are.
It may be the third. There was the observatory at Mount Low as well, I think, in the late 1800s, late 1890s.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually walked there and found the site, the circular ring, and the mount for the telescope for the Lowell Observatory down there, Mount Lowell Observatory.
Interesting. Oh, well, then thank you, Nick, for clarifying that.
By way of introduction, Nick is one of he's a telescope operator. He is a session director. He is a tour docent. He's one of our utility men, and thanks for jumping in and getting us historically a little more accurate, Nick.
No problem at all.
Thank you. Well, we have several questions about the fire. What kind of, did the smoke cause damage to the telescopes? And if so, how did you clean them?
So I can answer that one. That was my first concern, is how much soot or ash got into it. I went and immediately cleaned the mirror covers, which would have accumulated any kind of ash or soot, and then opened up the mirrors and found that they were uncontaminated by any kind of materials, ash or soot at the time. Now, as winds, how shall I say it, as weather, winds blew and conditions changed, a lot of this ash came up from the ground, up into the air, was deposited again on the mirrors. So we have to do a regular cleaning of them to make sure that those, well, what happens is ash, if it's in contact with water vapor, forms an acid and actually etches the surface of the mirror, our aluminum coating. So we're very protective of that, but things are in good shape right now.
Oh, good. Is the water tanks are the water tanks the only water there on the mountain?
Yes, we don't have municipal water. This is all well water. We depend on snow melt and rain to replenish the water table, and that's the wells have produced, and I think all the tanks are full again. So they had used something like 270,000 gallons of water to fight the fire, and that's all been replenished now. And we're in good shape for another fire. We hope not, but we're ready for one.
I hope we don't deal with the fire for 15, 20, 30 years, but we live in a forest. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
And we just do the best we can to prevent fires and be ready for when they come.
So during the fire, did the observatory lose power, or how do you get your power?
No, we did not lose any power. We get our power from SCE, and there are 2 transmission lines that come up to the observatory, and there weren't, we believe one of the transmission lines were damaged further in the fire, or during the fire, around September 20th or something, or 23rd, when it was going towards Red Box Road. So all they had to do was some repair work, and we have a generator up here ready to go if we lose power.
Okay, so it sounds like you're set with your generator, especially for this forthcoming storm. How do you think you'll do in this storm? They talk about it as just a torrential rain.
We pray that the microclimate of Mount Wilson saves us, because usually Mount Wilson has a weird climate where they tell us you're going to get a bunch of snow and we get nothing. And then they tell us you're going to get a lot of rain and then we get a bunch of snow. So sometimes it's really hard to gauge what to be prepared for. We are ready to go for the next storm. We have a Bobcat. The char array, they do some plowing as well. And what we do when we receive heavy snow is we just make sure to clean up the main road to get emergency personnel up here if things go sour. But other than that, since we do not have people coming up at the time, we just kind of stick to cleaning the main road, and that's about it. We watch for leaks, and we make sure nothing's broken, nothing has been damaged, and we put signage out to make sure nobody gets crushed from snow falling from the 100 or 60-inch telescope. So.
Well, that would be a lot of snow falling from the telescope.
Yeah, I mean, after last week, we had a couple big sheets, I would say almost a half a foot tall, and 5 by 10 big old sheets of ice coming off of the dome. I believe previously, when the Mount Wilson Observatory was doing active research, people like me, the maintenance people, would climb up to the top, put on our safety harness, helmets and everything, and clear off all the snow to allow astronomers to observe later that evening. I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore, and nor does my staff.
Oh, and how big is your staff up there?
3.
3.
3 people, 3 full-time workers.
You're busy all the time.
Yes, we try to make time for our lives sometime, but we realize the importance of the observatory and that it's a lifestyle. So I just want to give a special thanks to John and Rob Anderson and Blake Estes, who was with us at the time of the fire. There's a lot of dedication and hard work to be up here, especially with all the different seasons and different issues. And it's a lot of work for 3 to 4 people, plus our volunteers, and of course, Tom and the docents. And, you know, they do a lot of great work and really help supplement what we're lacking. And yeah, it's we miss our volunteers and our docents. I will say that. I will express that a lot.
So how many volunteers and docents do you have? Do you have a training class for them? They sounds like they've been with you a long time.
Well, I'll take this one. We have, I lost count, but I think we have upwards of 70 volunteers, docents, telescope operators, and so forth, of many disciplines. Some require training, some bring their skills with them. Bill LaFlang, for example, is an engineer, and he's upgrading our telescopes. He works with other engineers who have done these upgrades over the past 20 years I've been up there. He's been working on it. So we have people who are interested historically, like Nick, who does everything, and he's a very good docent. If you have a tour, you want to be on Nick's tours. I think we had Van Webster in there. He's also a docent. I don't see his picture, but thank you, Van. And we have these people. They love this place. They love the history, and they love to show it off. And they do a great job. And we are thankful for our volunteers. We wouldn't survive without volunteers, really. With 3 full-time people, there's too much work to do, too many activities, and we rely on them and are thankful for them.
Well, it sounds like you are. It's very, very helpful to have volunteers and docents. So another question is, considering that Mouse Wilson had been threatened before with fire, and you've just been through this terrible Bobcat fire, have you started new programs or new ideas in case you have another horrific fire?
Well, we've talked about looking over our fire suppression system and how we can improve that, or see what we're doing wrong. How could we be better prepared? And I believe the observatory was well prepared. We do have fire shutters at the monastery, so we put those down. We have over 33 standpipe hydrants throughout the campus. So it's just a matter of keeping our composure and just doing what needs to be done in terms of our fire suppression protocols and preparations. And I think we did pretty good in terms of being woken up at 2 a.m. on the 7th to evacuate our non-essential residents, and then making sure that all these measures were being taken and we were ready to go.
So I'm going to put out a question to our resident docents who are attending. I know we've expanded over the past few years our area. The Forest Service has given us additional area to work with. Does anybody have an estimate of how many square miles we now cover? I'm not really sure. Any ideas?
I don't have any idea.
I don't have any idea, but we have it's a big area, and it's kind of hard to measure because it's oddly shaped. It's a wedge shape. So, but we cover a lot of ground, and it would take, many people, 300 firefighters, as a matter of fact, to defend it. So that's kind of the effort we need if we have another big fire.
Well, this was a fabulous program. Thank you very much. Are there some other questions? Well, someone did ask a question. They said it was a strange question. We found the ash in Altadena was very unusual. Usually it's flakes, sometimes with black fringes. This time it was fine black sand like coal ground into a powder. I've never seen anything like that. Did you experience that? And that must have been very difficult to clean that up if you did experience it, because I had that down in Pasadena, and I lived down in the middle part of Pasadena, and it was just black all over.
Well, I found in successive cleanings of instruments and domes that there was a very fine, almost like a carbon powder.
Yeah, really.
It was really, it was almost greasy. Very hard to pick up. It stuck to surfaces. And I'm a Pennsylvania boy, and I can remember our coal stoves back there producing something of that. So it was highly carbonous, I'll call it. So it was very similar to that type. It was like it wasn't completely burned. That there was a lot of residual carbon in that material.
Yeah, we had, as Tom mentioned, it was like a carbon substance, but we also had big flakes of ash. And then we actually, I would say before we evacuated our whole team, we were experiencing leaves that were still singeing, flying towards us from the Santa Anita Canyon's Monrovia Peak. Like, even, it was quite a unique experience to see that, wait, how did this leaf catch fire and make its way to the top? The fire was still a couple miles away as a bird flies. And yeah, it was quite shocking to see the different types of ash and leaves and all that stuff. But I heard a lot of people down in the city, it was like being covered in like soot from like diesel trucks, or like if you're living by the freeway or something. Really, really fine ash.
Oh yes, well I live in Pasadena, central area, and everything was black. Your car was black, your driveway was black, just black. Yeah. It's all over your bushes as well. And it took a long time, as you say. It was very oily, and it was hard to get it off. Almost like you had to use, maybe soap would have been good on your plants.
Yeah, we had the fire hoses out to kind of clean some of the facilities. We kind of washed the dome, not really washed it, but just kind of rinsed it off to get all the debris off and all that nasty soot. We had a lot of black water coming down from all types of places. Even when we got the first rains, it was like, where is this coming from? It was an effort to get it clean, but we're there. And, it doesn't compare to living next to the 210. I grew up by the 210. Everything gets dirty in a matter of days, nonstop. So I can imagine how Pasadenians were feeling dealing with that ash. I mean, with all the foothill communities. Well,
the ash was a little to worry about it, what might have happened to Mount Wilson. It was just a horrific.
Yeah.
Exciting to watch, and you really got the feeling of that with your video and your presentation. So you got the feeling of what was going on and how nervous and overwhelmed you were watching it down here unfold and not up there to do anything.
Yeah, so, I asked what I think is an important question.
Yeah.
What is being done to establish a secondary retreat road if Red Box Mount Wilson Road is closed? The fire got right to the edge of it, and the other road, I believe it's called the Toll Road.
Oh yeah,
it's been pretty well damaged over the years.
So I can answer that for you quickly. I had expressed that concern to the incident command post down at Santa Fe Dam, to a couple of chiefs, captains. I let them know, it's like, hey, we only have one road up and down, one way in, one way out. There are multiple routes and fire breaks, but the main one is the toll road. And I am an avid mountain biker, so I go down the toll road from time to time. And there were, before the fire, there was over 8 landslides or rock slides on the toll road itself. So I expressed my concerns and my own experience to the fire chief LA County Fire Chief who was down there at the incident command post, and they were on it immediately. I had people calling me from, I believe, Murrieta, down in the city, like, hey, I hear you need a road cleared. I'm like, well, if you can clear the toll road, they're like, ooh, that's bigger than what I thought. So stings networked around. The LA County supervisor was able to clear the Mount Wilson toll road.
They had two very, very big bulldozers up there doing that. I think I'm amazed how they got them up that road to do that work.
Well, people in the chat hope that maybe you would stop screen sharing, David, so that they can see your photo again, because
yeah, sorry.
I think they would like to thank you or ask any more questions. So are there any other questions that anyone has? This was a fascinating program, lots of detail, and we're so pleased that the horrific fire came to a good end and the telescopes were fine. And we hope that we'll be able to, as you said, possibly go back and maybe in the fall and visit.
We are hoping sooner than later. We are
sooner than the fall.
Yes, we're at the mercy of the Forest Service, who we're talking with, and they've been great working with us. So we're going to be talking with them soon, and we're going to discuss what we will be allowed to do with the restrictions that are in place. And now that the stay-at-home order has been lifted, people are dying to get out into nature, into fresh air, and recreate and be safe and social distance. The forest, people have naturally social distance in the forest for centuries. So, you know, we're holding people back from what they love to do naturally, and to be out and to come up to the observatory and learn about the cosmos and enjoy the forest at the same time. So we really hope we can get this ball rolling as soon as possible. It might take longer than we want, but please bear with us. We just can't wait to have you all here again.
Thank you so much. You know, we have some young people watching the program. And David, you said you went to Field Elementary School in Pasadena. You're born and raised in Pasadena.
Yeah.
And you looked up at the mountain. You wanted to be on the mountain or go to the mountain. But what did you do between Field Elementary School and your background to actually get you up on the mountain?
Well, that's a long story, and I will cut it a little short. So from Field, I went to Field Elementary. From there, I went to Wilson, and then I did social independent studies because I was trying to test out to go to college. Once I realized that I needed to make money, I started working in the city of Los Angeles with a creative design company, being a driver, builder, CNC technician, just kind of a go-getter. From there, I was doing production gigs, and I was working with fabrication companies in LA for a couple of years, breaking my back, working long hours. And when I had time off, finally, I would come to the mountains. I would come to Mount Wilson. I would go to our national parks. And because Mount Wilson has always, or the forest in a sense, has always been my home, it's kind of beautiful that now I can call Mount Wilson my home. So from working in LA, I was done. I got tired of working 80-hour weeks. I'm a young man. You know, I shouldn't be working this hard nonstop. So one weekend, going back to the one weekend, I hiked up here and I asked the cafe manager if they needed help. I just simply asked. I'm like, hey, I love it up here. I would really like to be here. How can I help? And believe it or not, I actually had a conversation with Tom that afternoon, not knowing he was possibly going to be my boss in the future. And the way it all comes full circle is just quite amazing, because I was called a week later, and the manager's like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to be up here? We do offer accommodations, but you know, it's different up here. And I was like, yes, it's what I've been dreaming of. And I kind of saw the opportunity as like, okay, there isn't a maintenance position open, but I can get my foot in the door. So fortunately, when the maintenance position opened up, I was hired by our previous superintendent, Maggie Moran, and I started helping her with operations. And from being maintenance tech, fortunately working 40 hours a week, 35, it was kind of like a godsend. I'm like, I can work this many hours and survive? Wow, this is amazing. So just dedicating myself and showing my hard work and just making sure that we get the job done no matter what it takes and just sticking to it. I was given the opportunity to be assistant superintendent. And then when our superintendent moved on to bigger, greater things, Tom approached me and he had confidence in me and he supported me and he asked me if I wanted to take the position. And I was like, is this really happening right now? Is this happening to me right now? And just out of fear, I almost wanted to say no, but I sucked it up and I was like, you know what? This is an opportunity of a lifetime. Don't throw it away. Don't let fear get in the way of what you want and the opportunities that life brings you. So since May of 2019, is it 2019? Yeah, May of 2019, I have been superintendent.
And he's never looked back since.
No, and I have a great team. I love working with Tom, and I love working with our docents and our volunteers. And when the Board of Trustees need anything, we work with them and we get stuff done. And we're just really trying to expand the observatory and make it a place you want to be and come learn, and just to feel why these countless people have come up here and dedicated their time and lives to preserve this. This isn't only for me, this is for the future of everyone. And we have to preserve the knowledge that was learned here and pass it along. That's my experience here now. And as Tom said, I'm not looking back. I just want to see this place bloom and grow. And I just want many people up here experiencing what I'm experiencing.
Well, we think all young people should hear your path to get up there and your perseverance. And we all hope, I know everybody joins me on the presentation today and hopes that you bloom and grow, and people are able to get up and out in the indoors and enjoy the Mount Wilson Observatory. And I hope you all do well, and I thank you very, very much for this wonderful, fabulous program. Tom, do you have anything to say that you would like to finish with, or?
Well, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present our story, even if it's a brief segment, but it kind of puts it in context regarding what we do and why we do it. And I think that's good, and we hope everybody, as David said, will be up there soon. We miss everybody. This is what we live for, is for people to come up there. Really, all of our programs are focused on that. So we're waiting. We're waiting for this just to break open, where we can be in business again.
Well, please let the library know as soon as you are open,
Okay.
and we can have a program featuring all of your special programs so that everyone knows exactly what is offered up there. And that would be absolutely wonderful for us all to get out in the fresh air and get up there and enjoy life again. And I thank you very much, and I hope you do well in this forthcoming storm, and everything for you is back to normal soon. So thank you very, very much, everyone, for attending.
Christine.
Thank you. And if you want to see the program again, please go to Pasadena Public Library YouTube and see the program again. So thank you, David. Thank you, Tom, and also to Katie Stonke that works with them to help present all of their programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Christine.